Dear fellow wanderers and explorers, welcome to this episode of the Pearl Dialogues. My name is Wazee, and together with Elin, I host this podcast. And it is a podcast where we explore the nature of reality. And that happens within the context of the Diamond Approach, which is a school that explores the depth of human existence and our human potential. For those of you who are new to this, I have created an introduction page to the Diamond Approach, which you can find on yodacommunity.org. The links will be in the show note. And at that page, you can learn more about the school if you desire to. In this particular episode, I dive in with a Diamond Approach teacher with the name Chris. And the topic of our conversation very much revolves around the aspect of stillness, the potential we as human beings have to experience stillness in daily life and also to know ourselves as stillness. Two things I want to note. At the end of the conversation, we talk about the meditation offering that Chris and a group of teachers offers to dues-paying members of the school. If you're interested in that, you can find that on the portal. Also, at the 1st of June this year, Hamid Ali Age Almas, the founder of the Diamond Approach, will have a book talk on his new book, Non-Dual Love, in Amsterdam. I am one of the lead organizers, and I would love to see you there. If you're interested, you can also go to yodacommunity.org and find the event on that page. The link will be in the show notes. That's all I have to say, and much love. One opening question that comes to me, which is a very relevant question and a question that can be answered in many different ways. And it's a very basic question in terms of how would you describe yourself?
Describe myself in the moment.
It can be in the moment. It can be you as a soul on this plane in this incarnation. It can be you, however you want to answer that question.
Then I start with, I always had the feeling I somehow want to develop deeper. This is not it. I'm going for something more, which I could find in nature always. And when I had, as a child, some spiritual openings when I was in nature, I suddenly understood what they speak about in the child's church, some sentences. So, and I kept really going for that all my life. Yeah. In the depths, this was always what I was wanting to go for. In between the study, political work in the beginning when I was a student, and dancing, finding a husband, having children, that all seemed out this for a while, but it came back. It came back when I had found my home in the outer situation, my job, my profession, finished my studies, my trainings, and started working as a psychotherapist, psychologist. Then this deep inner search for something more that really gives me meaning, that is really lasting and makes a difference. Yeah, that was what I was going for.
So were you saying that initially as a young child you felt in connection with the depth, and you particularly in nature you had experiences, spiritual openings and experiences, and then for a time you focused more on being in the world, and then
Yes,
eventually the search or the pursuit or the quest got reignited when you were
yes,
a bit older, huh?
yes, quite strongly. Mhm.
Yeah. And when you say quite strongly, how did that manifest for you? And what makes you say quite strongly?
I felt a deep burning in my heart and a longing,
Yeah.
and I didn't understand it. You know, I had a husband that I loved. We had a wonderful little house. I had two wonderful girls, and I had the practice in my house, could work with people what I like to do. So I had that all, but I still, or even stronger, felt this burning longing in my heart, and I didn't quite understand it.
Hmm.
And there is a German philosopher who said the deepest loneliness is being lonely with a partner, something like that, you know. And I mean, I loved this man and I felt loved by him. It was fulfilling, but it couldn't fulfill this deeper longing.
Hmm. And when you got in touch with that longing, what has it moved you towards? What have you following or tracing the longing from the early genesis of that longing, or that when that longing really came into being in a visceral way to this day where you're at right now? What do you feel is the arc of the journey with that longing, and what place does that longing have in your life in this moment or in these times?
Well, since quite many years, it's very, very the most important thread in my life. Yeah, since the seminary and afterwards. And it was what gave me strength and gave me a meaning and what helped me grow, you know. And when I was 18, I didn't know what to study. I first thought I want to help that people like my father, who died when I was 15, don't have to die so early. Yeah. And I was contemplating near his grave. It was already getting dark. Normally, I'm fearful. I wouldn't be on a cemetery in the evening, but I had no fear. I was contemplating, and I noticed what really would have helped him was more psychotherapy, that he was kind of got blind by the war, and his heart was broken, so he would have needed something more like psychology.
Yeah.
So that's why I started psychology. But after a while, I noticed this is not what really would have helped him to not be blind as a soldier in the war, a German soldier, and it wouldn't prevent war, and it's just not going deep enough. So I was really longing for something deeper, which really would make a change.
And do you feel that longing is still there for you, or has it been changed over the years? What do you feel about it right now?
It's different. It was quite strong for some years. And then I felt so contented and fulfilled. I still do, and grateful. So much depth is available now inside. So much feeling home wherever I am. But lately, somehow, since last autumn, and this is why I chose that Lama chant.
Yeah.
It came back. It's a calling from the absolute. And yeah, you mentioned about the horizontal realization. Yeah. And it brought me to really look back what I can change in my life to even be more connected wherever I am. And I'm still on this thread.
Yeah. And with horizontal, so before coming on, we talked about vertical expansion and horizontal expansion, or vertical realization and horizontal realization, where within this context, the vertical realization is waking up to the different dimensions of consciousness, the different dimensions of being, the different aspects of existence, and exploring the universe and the vastness of true nature, while the horizontal is about actualizing that realization and bringing that realization into the world and into different situations of life. And from what I observe, hear, and know from the path, is that for most people, maybe for everyone, that the vertical dimension is the one that comes first and is more available, and then the harder path somehow is to bring it out into the world due to all the challenges, the patterning, the conditioning, the environmental factors. There's so many factors that makes that a very difficult potential to actualize. So I just wanted to give that context for the listeners. And you mentioned the absolute, and we've talked about depth. And I recognize that the moment I bring that up, or I mention that, I notice that my attention somehow goes into my own being and begins to explore that depths while simultaneously words coming out of my mouth.
And what are you sensing there?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's interesting. I feel in my body, I feel a sense of tranquility, and the tranquility has a pleasurable element to it, and actually almost a bit intoxicating, not in a wild way, but more in a subtle tranquility kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And I also noticed the space of stillness. I'm definitely in touch with the space of stillness, and that stillness is dark. So there's a sense of darkness, and
What does it give you?
I would say it brings relaxation,
Mm-hmm.
and also I would say there is an element of transcendence that comes into view or that becomes apparent because this particular spaciousness, this particular stillness is beyond time and space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I see that we're having this conversation, that everything is happening and this dialogue is taking place, and simultaneously there is this other dimension of stillness that is completely independent of anything really. um yeah, so
I
that's
love it. I just love the stillness.
mm,
I mean, already I grew up. My father didn't want to have television and the radio. We didn't have it often or put on. And we were singing a lot, and we lived like 8 meters from the forest. So in the evening, I always listened to the trees outside, the wind in the trees, the deep, deep, far away sounds. We have two words in German. One is lauschen, that is when you listen into the silence for subtle hints of what you notice there, subtle hints, yeah. And that is a different word than listening in Germany. And this is what I love, listening into the sound of silence.
mm. How would you say that love for listening and the love for silence manifests in your life? How does that come to expression, that love you feel?
Yeah, very practical. When you asked for a song, I really had to go to my old CDs and look what I liked, because normally I don't have music. I like music sometimes when I drive in the car longer distance, but mostly it's silent here. And I love in the moment it's raining to listen to the rain. I just love that silence.
Hmm.
And when my patients in the end, when they leave, they often say two things about what they loved in our sessions. And one is they loved the silence in between, and that they could be just silent with me. And the other is, and this has also grown in the work, it's a different topic, that I spoke truth. I'm not just nice, easy being, I love the truth, and since quite some years now, it's just coming out. And I, I say to them, but I just pushed you a little bit in the buttocks. That's how we say in German. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they say, yes, and nobody is doing that. And I really love that because it's true.
Yeah.
So both sides.
Yeah. I resonate with that, what you're
I
sharing.
see a red T-shirt.
Yeah, I do have a red t-shirt. Starkly red. Extremely red. And something that, it just comes to mind is this balance of supporting people, but also daring to challenge when that is appropriate, and how that is so necessary for growth. It's so necessary for continuous awakening. It's so necessary to mirroring, and for us for gaining further self-knowledge. Is a great service, really, that when one can, um, it's an act of service to challenge, obviously, in a way that is appropriate for the situation and the being that one is with. But there's so much value in yeah, the boot up the buttock, to use your phrase, huh?
Yes, that's what they say. And I really had to learn that, to trust that, because the first times when I said something, I felt fear. Oh, that was too strong, and this woman is pregnant, and how could you say that? And I wanted to call, but I always got some guidance that it's okay
Yeah.
not to call. And I asked in the next session how it was when I said that. And they said, it's true. It's just true. It was just right.
Yeah.
So, but I needed to learn to trust that it was coming out of my mouth at a certain point in the work. And I felt like that.
Hmm. How does guidance manifest for you?
Quite different. In that case, where was this pregnant woman,
Yeah.
um,
Internal.
that is not, I think that's not the typical guidance, how I experience it in my inquiries. But the evening when I went home from the practice and I was chewing on that, oh, was that too hard? I went to a shop to buy something and I bought a newspaper, which normally, a big newspaper, normally I don't have time to read that. And I was wondering why I bought it, but I bought it. And when I was sitting there after dinner, still chewing on, oh, should I call her and explain her more or whatever, I was turning the pages around without really reading. And then I stopped. There was a huge picture, and it was such a precious guidance for me. There was over such a big place in the newspaper was a kind of mandala, and underneath they wrote, "This tiny little fish, it's only like this, can't see the beauty of that, but he does this to put in his ex, her ex, yes, and around that is a tiny little wall of sand, so the eggs are protected." So that was my answer.
Mm.
It was really touching me. And wow, no worry. This was synchronicity. I get goosebumps when I speak about it.
Yeah. I definitely feel the impact of what you're sharing, and also how the guidance came through a newspaper. And essentially, I mean, you intuitively you were led to buy that newspaper, and in that newspaper was a message. I didn't quite get exactly what the image was about. So I
The
heard a
image
mandala,
was
I
a
heard a fish.
mandala. Do you know a
Yeah,
mandala?
yeah,
So it was a round,
yeah,
beautiful picture with different patterns in it.
yeah,
Very beautiful. And around on the corner, there was a tiny, it was painted by the back part of a fish in the sand, deep down on the ground of the ocean, to protect the eggs. You know, when they are giving out the eggs, they don't want them to be drawn away by the streaming.
Yeah.
So, and there was a little wall of sand, very small.
Yeah.
So, and that said, this is how the eggs are protected.
Oh, interesting. Wow, that's a very original picture, a very unique picture. I've never seen anything like that.
No.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that was really touching.
Yeah, wonderful. So you came into the Diamond Approach in the 96, yeah?
Yeah.
And we've been speaking about silence and stillness. What is your sense, experience, perception when it comes to the topic of death and dying?
Death touches me deeply. It's something very true. And often when I experienced a patient where somebody died close to this person, I love our sessions. There was such a depth and such a truth there beyond the words. It just speaking about death transmitted that. I always experienced that so deeply. And I went to different death retreats with Buddhist teacher and with Hamid years ago in San Francisco. So yes, it's a depth, what I love. And I just was in the sleep yoga retreat with Hamid. I think it was last weekend. And in the night, in the deep sleep where we are not dreaming, it's like a little dying. That's why children always have fear to fall asleep, because it's total surrender, total dissolving. And when you wake up and you are really refreshed, this comes from the phase of the deep sleep. I understood something more about it from this retreat lately.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
And the summer retreat will be this year in Eindhoven about death, dying.
Yeah. And for the listeners, so Hamid AHL Mas, the founder of this approach, is holding a retreat in the Netherlands and the States as well this summer about death, dying, living, death, dying, and beyond. Something like that, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question that is completely different topic, but I was talking to a friend yesterday and he was saying that his sense is that women have a particular unique form of guidance or intuition that is different to that of men, that there is a difference between men and women, not in terms of diamond guidance or like the depth guidance from true nature, but what have you contemplated at all, like that, what you see as the like primary differences between men and women?
Well, for example, when I was pregnant, I mean, I opened up for another being inside of me, and there is no boundary in between. And that really had an influence on, I felt so close to other pregnant animals. I remember I was on a walk with my sister, and I saw a pregnant cow on the meadow. And my sister was talking and talking and talking nonsense. And I felt so closely related to the cow because she was experiencing the same mystery, wonder, opening. And I couldn't look the news in the television because I realized the soldiers are sons of mothers. So the opening and the love and the letting go of boundaries, and love is melting the boundaries away. So I often, for example, my younger daughter, she always had strong pain, not always, but often in her belly. I don't know how they call it. There is a little thing where sometimes an inflammation can happen, and often children get operated, then a little scar here. And the doctor always said, you have to take care with her. But normally when I was shaking her legs softly, that helped, and she could fall asleep again, and everything was good. And one evening I came home late, and this daughter looked at me, and in her eyes, she complained about the pain, and in her eyes, something was different. My husband didn't see it. He was there all the evening. He didn't take it serious. But I saw a little stronger, I don't know the English word, like, oh, please, like, oh. It was really, she was pressed to get help inside. And I saw that in her eyes. I called the doctor. She was still there in the practice. I went there, and they had an emergency operation Friday evening at 10:15. So that was guidance, and I think it was this special kind of deep merging love between mothers and children. But I won't say men can't have it, that's not true. But it needs this special merging love for me.
Globally nowadays, I'm curious to go deeper into this, and I really hear your story and that connection, that merging love connection, and how special that is for you. In the global landscape, there is a lot of changes happening in terms of, women, men, the roles of women, the roles of men, and binary. There's so much going on in that landscape. Do you have any either perspective, opinion, perception on that in terms of what is happening? And also, do you have any particular views on what you see for yourself, what the role, that there is a distinct role, between men and women? How do you see that landscape?
Well, for me, it's different. There are men where this female side, the anima, we call it, is developed, really developed, more than in some women. Like the Dalai Lama, he's very open to that side. I mean, Hamid feels very male to me, but also he's totally open for this love. So I think it really depends how open they are, and love plays a special role here, because love is, when you come into the boundless dimensions, the first boundless dimension is universal love, divine love, and it helps to melt the boundaries. It's melting boundaries.
Mm.
Well, and globally, my feeling is mostly in the world we have lost the depth. The religions don't play a true good part anymore in societies. A lot disturbance, a lot disappointment, and people leave the church here in Europe a lot. But they didn't go for an alternative which really connects them to the truth and to the depth. And for me, this is really missing.
Yeah.
It's a pity.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, and I resonate with that observation. Um, hmm.
And I think men would need more really good, true role models, in politics and in the church or wherever, that they can really feel a longing for, to develop that in themselves instead of going for fake strengths. Women too, when I see all this plastic lips and all that, not plastic, it's pumped up or something.
Yeah, Botox, stuff like that. Yeah.
What are you curious about? What else?
Right now, primarily, I feel that I'm exploring the stillness. That's kind of what's primary, and I feel that the stillness is a living aspect of our conversation, and the fact that you have a deep love for that and appreciate it um, moves me to meet you in that stillness.
Yes, you keep coming back to it. Is there a place where do you sense it in your body?
It feels quite equally distributed throughout my field. Yeah, equally distributed, I would say. How is it for you?
Deep, deep down in the universe. No more in this body. But the sound of the stillness is, like you say, everywhere.
And did I hear you when you said deep down in the universe beyond this body, or there is no body? What did you say?
There is a field
Yeah.
shifting. And I mostly sense this inner channel.
Yeah.
Going deep, deep down into the earth and through the earth. I don't know where it's ending. So this is what I'm mostly being with. My inner, however I call it, central line channel.
And when you in this episode, in this dialogue, when you speak and the movements of your body with your hand, where do you feel that your attention is primarily in that column of stillness? Has it been that throughout our conversation? Or is it shifting from being more in the dynamism, in the expression, and then going backwards into the stillness and the depth? What do you see?
On a deeper level, it's always there, and it's like pulling me back, drawing me back, like an anchor, always drawing me back. When I spoke about this experience with the newspaper and this big photo there, I felt quite excited and more up here, but immediately the moment I close my mouth, it's there.
And would you say that there is a sense of absorption in that, or how would you describe your, I don't know, your soul's relationship with that stillness?
Some moments there is really absorption fully in meditation. That's samadhi.
Yeah.
And like in the moment, what I notice, it's in my sacrum, and from there going deeper. But the only thing that I notice in my body is this channel, and especially always the sacrum. Somehow that has accompanied me all my life. So it's like, like this anchor. It's when I moved away, it's getting me back. It's how it is for me. And what quality do you notice there?
So the quality, it is, if I were to say one quality that comes to me, is warmth.
Mhm.
And I would also say that doesn't have many features. Um, at the same time, I'm wondering if it's also bringing to surface, I mean, this the field that we're in, and also the awareness of this stillness. I can also notice a layer of pressure on the surface of my body. So I'm wondering if it's illuminating some structure in my soul,
Some structure.
some kind of structure that has an element of pressure. Yeah,
Is it all over the body or just certain parts?
primarily the face and a bit on the chest. Yeah,
Just allow.
I really feel the invitation to surrender and let go, and then I notice how my mind is also aware of the fact that this is an episode and that moving completely into the stillness would mean is going to totally away somehow, totally. Um, in some sense, I would have to leave the idea and the notion that we're doing something here.
We're doing a podcast
Yeah.
with a little snack of deep stillness inside.
The little snack.
Delicious snack.
Yeah, very good. But yeah, I'll definitely bring this, continue to be with this as I flow into my day. Yeah. In your own journey with this, you say that you experience yourself as a column, and that's primarily what you experience about of your body. And within that context, would you say that there is a total absence of resistance, defenses, and structure?
No, it in the everyday life there are moments when there are resistances. I think natural, just from through somebody is in the street going like that, and I have no place or so, then I feel like that or whatever. I mean,
And what
I
about in this moment? How do you feel about that in this moment?
no, I was just following your thread that I noticed I could sink deep into the stillness,
Yeah.
and I would love it. But I took that serious, what you said. We have a job here to do, and we are in the world. And you're curious about some things, and the people who listen are curious about more.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good. Um, yeah. So how about we listen a bit to the song you sent? I haven't listened to it yet. Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that chant. And you earlier said that you've been engaged with Buddhism throughout your years. So, for you, does that chant carry any particular meaning? Do you simply enjoy it? What do you feel coming through? What comes through for you with that chant?
What comes through for me is the love for the depth and the warmth in that. For me, that is the absolute in this song. And I just love to listen to it. And somehow there is, sometimes there is a smell in it of something very old, from very good old times. I don't know when. And that is the threat to this too.
Wonderful. Love for the depth.
Keeps coming back, love for the depths and stillness and love also.
In terms of your availability as a private teacher, do you have any groups going, practically speaking? I know that you do some meditations that people can plug into. How could people potentially connect? What's happening for you that you could share with the audience?
I take private students. I have some. I mostly do video sessions, so I have people from England, Ireland, Northern Europe, and I'm assisting and having small groups, not every time, but often in the David group in Munich from its German-speaking group, because I'm situated in Garmisch-Partenkirchen here, which is in the south of Germany, a ski resort here. So it's a bit further away. That's why I mostly give online sessions.
Yeah.
And these morning meditations are open for everybody who is in a group or has private sessions. They can join it. There is a link to the meditation, and every morning between 8 and 8:30 is the meditation. Then me or one of the colleagues, we read a poem, and then we open up breakout sessions for people who want to inquire. And it's closed shortly before 9 o'clock. Many people really appreciate it from all over Europe because it's a support to sit with other students.
Wonderful. And that is 8 a.m. Central European time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And this happens Monday to Friday, every day?
Every day.
Okay. Every day of the week, Monday to Friday, every day of the week. And one can find the link on the portal.
I can send you the link and then you can
the show notes.
However you do Wonderful. It. Mm-hmm.
This is designed for dues-paying members then?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there any other last words that you want to share before we close this space?
I was wondering how it is, and it feels very true how it was for me. It's where I am in the moment. And a little bit my super ego is telling me, wasn't it too deep for Wazee? Didn't I put too much on him with this stillness and the desert? You brought it up.
Yeah. And I mean, Like I love the depths the same way you do. So for me, when people bring in depths, my soul celebrates. So I'm right there with you, diving. You know. I can
Good
promise.
friend, friend of the depths.
Yeah, I can promise you that.
Good, no bad conscience.
Yeah. Totally. Good. Okay, so thank you for coming on, Chris. Wonderful to explore with you,
Welcome.
to dive with
I
you.
really appreciate what you are doing. It's so different with different people, and everything was precious.
Hmm, thank you.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah. Thank you to all the listeners who listened all the way through. And yeah, catch us with the next episode. Wonderful. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Wazee.